When you strip life down to its essentials, you realize that standing alone is never the real danger. The danger is staying surrounded by people who drain you, distract you, and disrespect you while pretending they value you. Being alone hurts, but being unseen while standing in a crowd hurts far more. When you stand alone, your energy is intact. You own your time. You direct your focus. You sharpen yourself without interference. The weight of solitude is heavy, but it is clean. The weight of false company is poison, and poison always kills slowly. People reveal their truth in how they respond to your growth. When you begin rising, those who value you will celebrate without hesitation. Those who don't will disguise their envy as advice, their resentment as jokes, their insecurity as silence. This is how you know who deserves to walk beside you. If your winds make them uncomfortable, they should not be near your throne. It is better to walk alone with clarity than to walk in company where every step forward feels like betrayal to them. Solitude forces self-respect. When you stand alone, you have no one to lean on, no one to validate your choices, no one to soften the blow of your failures. You are forced to build an identity rooted in your own standards. That independence creates a confidence that cannot be shaken by rejection. The man who is comfortable alone does not beg for attention, does not compromise his vision, does not dilute his intensity. He is whole without the crowd. That wholeness makes him unshakable when the crowd eventually arrives. The wrong people cost more than solitude ever could. They cost you time, energy, focus, and identity. They pull you into their drama, their insecurities, their self-sabotage. They hold you in cycles you have already outgrown. When you choose to stay near them, you trade your future for temporary comfort. That trade always leads to regret. When you choose to walk alone, you choose discomfort now, but sovereignty later. Sovereignty is worth the cost. A man who stands alone learns to hear himself. The noise of shallow people is silenced, and suddenly the truth becomes clear. You begin to see what you really want, what you are truly capable of, and what you are willing to sacrifice. Without distraction, your vision sharpens into something unshakable. That kind of vision cannot exist in the presence of those who refuse to value you, because their doubt would pollute it. Walking alone is not a rejection of people. It is a declaration of clarity. There will always be pressure to conform. Society thrives on making you believe that belonging at any cost is survival. That is why most people stay in relationships and circles that suffocate them. They fear the silence of standing alone. But survival is not the goal. Sovereignty is. To build sovereignty, you must accept that you will be misunderstood, criticized, even mocked. That is the price of independence. That price is cheaper than living a lifetime as a diluted version of yourself. When you walk alone, you learn patience. You no longer expect shortcuts. You no longer chase validation. You build slowly, deliberately, and with intention. This patience compounds into strength. By the time people notice you, you have already built a foundation too solid to be shaken. The ones who never valued you will come back then, pretending they always believed. You will recognize them for what they are. Solitude gave you the clarity to see through their disguises. True strength is built in isolation. Every empire, every movement, every legacy began with someone who was willing to be misunderstood and stand alone. The crowd never creates leaders. The crowd consumes them once they are already made. If you want to create something that endures, you cannot depend on being valued early. You must accept invisibility until your work demands attention. Those who do not value you now are irrelevant to the man you are becoming. The ones who truly value you will appear later, when your path has been carved by discipline and proof. They will not need convincing. They will see your vision because you already embodied it. But until then, you must learn to walk with no audience, no applause, no comfort. That is how you refine yourself into someone who attracts respect without begging for it. That is how you separate yourself from the herd forever. Most people settle for comfort over growth, and that comfort often comes in the form of silence. They surround themselves with individuals who clap for every move, who never challenge them, who allow them to sink into mediocrity without resistance. But growth does not come from comfort. It comes from confrontation. You need people around you who refuse to let you stay small. You need people who will look you in the eye and tell you that your excuses are destroying you, that your habits are betraying you, that your vision is being diluted. Their honesty may sting, but that sting is medicine. Surround yourself with people who force you to look at yourself in the mirror when you try to run from it. That is the only way you will ever reach the heights you claim to desire. The rarest form of loyalty is not blind support, it is brutal truth. Most people mistake validation for loyalty, but validation without honesty is betrayal in disguise. If someone tells you only what you want to hear, they are not protecting you. They are protecting themselves from the discomfort of conflict. The people who love you enough to call you out are the ones who carry the kind of vision you need to grow. They are willing to risk your temporary anger for your permanent progress. These are the people you must protect, because they will save you from self-destruction more times than you can count. Surround yourself with them, and you will never fall too far without someone pulling you back up with reality. Every empire that has ever risen was built on accountability. Leaders may stand at the front, but behind them are always voices that demanded more from them when they were ready to settle. Without those voices, greatness collapses under ego. Without those voices, vision becomes delusion. The reason you must surround yourself with challengers is simple. You cannot see yourself clearly in every season. You will blind yourself with overconfidence or crush yourself with doubt. The right people will anchor you in both storms. They will steady you when you rise too high and remind you of your worth when you sink too low. You must be careful with who you allow into that inner circle, because not everyone is qualified to critique you. The ones you need are not fueled by envy or disguised sabotage. The ones you need are disciplined themselves. They are not just talkers. They live what they demand from you. They hold you accountable because they hold themselves accountable first. If you let shallow, careless people critique you, you will drown in noise. But if you let disciplined, visionary people critique you, you will sharpen into something unstoppable. Surround yourself with the latter, and you will be sculpted daily into the highest version of yourself. Honest confrontation does not always feel good in the moment. It cuts, it bruises, it makes you uncomfortable. But greatness is built in discomfort. You need the friend who tells you that you are slacking, not the one who congratulates you for showing up late. You need the partner who tells you your excuses are destroying your potential, not the one who soothes you with permission to stay comfortable. The ones who challenge you may feel harsh, but they are building you while others are destroying you softly with their silence. If you are serious about becoming your best, you must welcome these sharpeners into your life. Surrounding yourself with people who demand more is an act of humility. It requires you to admit that you cannot see everything, that you cannot always trust your emotions, that you cannot always rely on your own judgment. Pride rejects this. Pride wants to stand alone, deaf to feedback, blind to blind spots. But pride collapses empires. Humility builds them. When you allow yourself to be corrected, when you accept being called out, you give yourself the chance to grow beyond the limits you currently live in. That humility is rare, but it is the foundation of lasting success. Your environment is either pulling you upward or dragging you downward. There is no neutrality. The conversations you entertain, the advice you accept, the standards you tolerate, they are shaping you whether you realize it or not. If you surround yourself with people who demand nothing from you, you will eventually demand nothing from yourself. But if you surround yourself with people who sharpen you relentlessly, your identity shifts into someone who cannot settle. Every great man is the product of his environment, not because the environment defined him, but because he chose an environment that refined him. The hardest truth is that many people you currently call friends may not belong in your future. If they fear your growth, if they resent your improvement, if they discourage your discipline, they cannot remain. You will have to cut ties with those who prefer your old self to your new one. This is not cruelty, it is survival. If they cannot celebrate your best self, they are invested in your downfall. Surround yourself instead with people who smile when you succeed and challenge you when you drift. That combination is priceless, and it is the only circle worth keeping. Surrounding yourself with truth tellers is also a safeguard against self-deception. Humans are masters of lying to themselves, of justifying procrastination, of disguising fear as logic. Alone, you can rationalize your downfall until you believe it is wisdom. But when you are surrounded by people who see through it, they will expose your excuses for what they are. They will not let you stay comfortable in lies. They will force you into honesty, and that honesty is where transformation begins. Without them, you will trick yourself into mediocrity. With them, you will force yourself into mastery.